I love to see the towns passing by and to ride these rails neath God's blue sky. Let me travel this land from the mountains to the sea, 'cause that's the life I believe He meant for me. And when I'm gone and at my grave you stand, say God called home your rambling man.
Welcome to Ramblin' Man Podcast, episode number 97. This one's with Leah Frances, and we kind of talk about art photography. I first found Leah through Instagram. She has a great feed on there called American Squares, and she's released a book, and she's releasing another book, but you can also buy her prints online. Great conversation. If you'd like to learn more about Leah, you can find her online at leahfrances.com. That's LEAH-FRANCES.com. Or give her a follow on Instagram at American Squares. Make sure to tell her Ramblin' Man sent you. Thank her for being on. Sponsor this week is Feral Giant. Feral Giant is a graphic design, illustration, and social media consultation company based here in Knoxville, Tennessee. So they do work for clients big and small all over the country, all over the globe, in fact. But they also do photography, videography, video editing, and audio editing, website design, SEO, writing, content development. Hell, they'll babysit your kids if it nets them money. So make sure you give them a follow on social media on either Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or LinkedIn at Feral Giant. And be sure to give them an email today and hire them for your next project. Without much further ado, here's the episode. But yeah, sorry, you've got a bunch of sad beach balls.
Sad beach balls on the computer. Pretty much my fault. There's a lot of things I should be quitting. No, I'm working on a book right now.
Oh, nice.
And this seems to require, I have thousands of files. I'm sure every photographer does, but across many hard drives. So I have 3 hard drives plugged in, and I find the file that I've placed and I'm like, well, where is that? So then I've got, multiple Lightroom and Capture One open, and these things just suck up a lot of bandwidth from the computer. So it's a sad situation overall.
I got very lucky in that I worked at a print shop very early on, and they had very meticulous filing systems. And even to this day, I did, let's say a piece of Photoshop work for my little sister for something. It still has a job number. It has a file hierarchy. I'm so meticulous about, nope, it has to have these things.
I try, but what do you have, an old-fashioned card catalog for that? Because I'm like, okay, this is a photograph from California from 2018, but I have, 5, I don't know how, this is boring.
No.
If anyone's listening to this, I'm sorry, but.
No, what's funny is, so I'm going to give a friend of mine a shout out, my buddy Sean Pointner here in Knoxville. He is a Pulitzer-nominated photographer. Ooh. He shot for the New York Times, for the Washington Post.
What story was that he was nominated for?
I think it was he went and shot, I think he's been nominated twice.
I'm looking it up.
Okay. I think, I may be wrong. I think one of them recently was the kid in that was in the Waffle House in Cookeville. That
how do you Pointner, P-O-Y?
I can never remember if it's Poyntter or Ponyter.
Because I worked at the New York Times.
Oh, nice.
6 years. And I worked on putting together the Pulitzer entries.
Nice. And but the most recent one was, there was somebody tried to come in and rob a Waffle House, and this young man, James, I can't pull his last name, disarmed the people and got him out of there. And he went and photographed. I should say photographed and not shot. Photographed that young man.
That is an awkward one. The other one
Yeah.
I love is capture. It's like,
Oh yeah, capture.
it's crazy when you're writing about photography because
Right.
it's like, how many times can I use the same verb? I generally use make a photograph, but there's, take a photograph, shoot, capture, and they're all sort of violent. I don't know. I don't really want to introduce that into this conversation.
But he is like the biggest filing nerd. Like the amount of times he's talked to me about NAS systems and backups upon backups, I'm like, good Lord, dude. And then once he started getting into keywording, he was like, no, I have to do all this because I shoot so many photos.
Yeah. Mine are keyworded and everything. It's just the fact that, there's only so many, for me anyway, like hard drive. I can't fit everything on one hard drive. I have 5 going. So then I have to look at the year, find the hard drive from that year, go into that particular catalog, look it up. It's not too terrible.
So I'm trying to count how many hard drives, because I've been a graphic designer since 1992. So I have like 15 hard drives, and I would say 10 of them don't work.
That's scary. Yeah,
or
scary.
I think what I've learned is it's the power that fails first, not the hard drive. Right. So I've had some where I've had to pull them out. And then once I pulled them out, I was like, oh, this is a 500 gigabyte hard drive. I should get a 3 terabyte hard drive. And I was like, oh, God, this is all. Yeah.
Anyway.
Oh my God. We are reeling in the people for this episode.
That's what I did. Cut this bit.
No. So I have a weekly radio show called Porch Sitting, and I interviewed a guy who's a designer in Texas, and we just started talking about the posters and art we have hanging up in our, for like the first 10 minutes. I was like, welcome to Poster Talk on Raucous Radio. It's so much fun, but yeah, this will be the fun part. We're 10 minutes in. It's nice to virtually meet you.
Oh yes, you too. I guess we just jumped right into that. Nice to meet you as well.
Yeah.
For writing me.
Yeah, I can't remember what the original way it was I found you. I'm always on that Discover tab and looking at
that's
things.
Nice to know. I actually got a photo on there. The Instagram algorithm is just not very friendly anymore to me, I have to say.
So I do here, I'll give you a trick, because I do social media marketing and digital marketing for people. So it's not the latest version of the Instagram algorithm, but they want you to go into the Discovery tab a few times a day and like and comment on people you do not follow.
No, I don't know about that.
But it wants you to do that. It wants you to post the stories. Like, that was how you beat the algorithm like a year ago. And I was like, this is the dumbest thing.
It's dumb. It's a bit dumb. I'm constantly, I'm constantly looking for new photographers that I don't know. So, I'll follow a page that features photographers, then I'll look at their work. So I'm definitely, following new people all the time. Right. But I don't know that I would do that just to game an algorithm. I don't know. I'm pretty I don't know what to say. I enjoy Instagram, and I enjoy my real relationships there. They feel real, friendships that I've made, people that I write to, but I'm not going to go fake something to get followers.
Yeah. Well, the whole thing about that cracks me up, because on my business page, I post a Monday motivation every Monday, and it gets 8 likes. Right, and then I posted a picture of me and my dad, and it got 120. I was like, good Lord, this can't be this basic, man. Come on. But were you when you were growing up, were you always into photography? Is it something you came to later on?
Yeah. I started taking pictures in high school, I think. I do remember liking photographs fairly early on. I remember looking at an issue, I think this is still around, I'm not sure, of Nylon magazine. I don't know if you would know what that was.
Oh yeah, I remember Nylon.
Yeah, and they had this, I'm pretty sure it was there, they had this feature on this new set of women photographer graduates from Yale. And I was a kid, but for some reason I was really intrigued with their work. And then, so I took photography in high school, and I don't remember the order, what happened, but my brother went to, and my brother and sister are like considerably older than me. And he went to New York, and brought me home a couple of posters from the MoMA that were photography. Edward Steichen, I think, and Rodchenko. Anyway, whatever. Yeah, so I really like those. Made me take photography in high school. Those few things came together just to make me want to study photography. But then, like, I'm from a relatively small town on the west coast of Canada, and I couldn't just see, like, what would you do with that? It didn't occur to me that you could ever be a photographer. It wasn't like it is now where everyone wants to be a photographer. So I like never did it again until I was much older.
Nice.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I love telling people that I am the only artist in my family. Like, my dad was a truck driver, mom was a phone.
Yeah.
So, like, even when I chose graphic design, I was like, yeah, this is something that makes sense. Like, you know, it seems like you can earn a paycheck from this.
That's funny. So yeah, for me, my mom and dad are maybe more creative than I am, I would say. Like, my mother can draw and paint, and my dad has done woodblock prints his whole life.
Shit.
So
I
grew up
those.
with him doing that at one end of the table, like every night, all night. So I think it's actually kind of a shock to everybody that I got involved in anything artistic, I think. And it was like late, like I said, after I had finished school and everything for something else, and I was working in a career, I was like, yeah. I don't know if that story is really getting out of sync, but
no.
My job, so I did go to school for graphic design, by the way, as well.
Nice.
And my job was part of my job was looking at photographs before they go in press to optimize them for print. I didn't do the actual optimization, but there's generally somebody just kind of in a color booth, like looking at the work. And that was me. And I did it like every day at noon and 5. But at that time I was working at the Wall Street Journal at WSJ magazine. So I was looking at like Stephen Shore. That was the first one, really. His work came in and he said, oh, I really haven't touched it. You know, if there's something, at a newspaper, you don't retouch it all, but there's like a color thing for press. If something's off, it won't print well. He was like, if there's anything you need to do with it. And it came in and it was like, perfect. Seriously, it was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. And it was a fashion shoot, which I don't know if you know much about Stephen Shore, but that's not a common thing for him to do. Right. And I was so inspired. I'm embarrassed if he ever heard about this. Not that he knows me at all, but I was so inspired by the shoot that I actually bought a camera. And I was going to visit a friend in LA, took the camera there, and like went nuts with it. And that was like the beginning of me doing photography as an adult.
Was it film or digital?
It was digital.
Okay.
At that time. Yeah. I bought like a pretty cheap digital camera because I wasn't sure what I was doing. I had only shot film up until that point, like when I was in high school and stuff. And the first day I think I set it on like JPEG by mistake, and like the color balance was wrong, and I had a thumbprint on the lens. It's terrible.
Oh my God. Oh, that's I think the thumbprint on the lens, I think I've had that I must have had that happen at one point, because every time, even before I shoot a photo with my camera, I'm like wiping it on my shirt, like get it off there.
Yeah, those are funny. Those are funny pictures to look at for sure.
Yeah. No, that's great. He would probably think that was awesome that he inspired I don't know.
I think he's probably inspired like thousands, if not millions of people.
You're just like, hi, I'm here. It's me. The photo retouching, that's another thing Sean and I have gotten into long discussions on like the editorial integrity of photography for news. I also worked at the newspaper a few times, and that was always wild about, he's like, you can do a little bit, but there's a very narrow line of what you can do.
So, very low. I mean, if you have, like I said, like, I don't know what you do. Generally it's like on that type of press, things get much darker, so you would lighten them up a little bit, or the highlights blow out completely, so you would add a little bit. It's just like the smallest things like that. and I pretty much keep to that with my own work too. Maybe because I've worked that way, professionally.
Yeah. Yeah.
The only thing I really do is license plates. I do actually scramble them.
Photoshop
if it's going to show, and especially if it's going to print somewhere, I just feel like it's kind of an invasion of someone's privacy. I don't know. I don't know. They're out on the street. There's no law against it. If it's, if it's visible from the public area, you're allowed to photograph it. But still, I'm not going to put someone's car in my book and like have their license plate fully visible.
Although there is part of me, it's like, who is the person that's going to be like, you know what? I'm going to get that. It's like,
I don't know. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
No. I believe in what you're doing 100%, but I was like, if there's some nut job, I want to meet that nut job and go, why? Let's find you something else to do, man.
But you know what? Like maybe I do it because I've told so many people I do it because maybe you know this, like the amount of people that come out of their house yelling and screaming at me for taking a photo of the car. Like, no shoes on, like arms akimbo, like yelling at me.
This will be the first time I've talked about this publicly. This last year has been, I'm going to go down to go back up, but this last year has been a struggle, like with the pandemic and mortgage and all that. And damn, the mortgage companies sell your name to a list that realtors can buy that then target your house. So I've had people show up to my house and bang on my door and then photograph my house. And I finally am back and am comfortable now, knock on all the wood in the world. But I feel like there's been part of me, it's like, how redneck can I go when those people show back up?
Very redneck.
Wait, I need just a cigarette by the door. I can just put it in my living room. Hey, you get back here.
I didn't think about that. I mean, maybe that's I don't know, maybe that's some reason why people get some. Because I always figure, like if you have a really beautiful car or whatever it is, maybe it's rusted out, but it's a special car, it, and you put it in front of your house on purpose, I think, because you want people to see it. So like, I'm just appreciating it really.
And I think anytime that I have done that, like taking a photograph of something like that, I'm always like, I just get excited. Like, I'm like, holy shit, look at this thing. This thing's bad. Can I get a photo? Yeah, I'm going to take a photo. Just kind of barrel over them of just like, this one will do. Hey, this one will do. Yeah. Now that you say that, I think I remember the first photo I saw by you because it still hits me. It was in the snow and it was an old bright green car.
Oh yeah.
That was flat. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That was a really cool, that was a gentleman's car that was a couple blocks from my house, actually in Crown Heights, Brooklyn. Nice. And I hadn't noticed it. And then I saw it and I kept like circling past it, like just to how you do. Like if you see a good car, you're like, okay, it does live here. It's going to be here a while. And like, I'm going to wait for some like snow. I love snow. Oh, and and that was perfect. And then I actually one day saw him get in and like rev it up and it was just like, vroom, vroom, and it was, an elderly Black man. He just looked super dapper and he had a hat on, and I took a photo of that too. So
I always, God, I hope, I don't think you have this, but please, I'm going to I hope I don't offend. It drives me nuts when I see people get money and buy like a brand new BMW or Mercedes. I was like, what are you doing?
No, I don't have that. Are you kidding me?
I was like, get something.
Job, okay?
I know. I was like, get something old and cool. If you want to get like a 1960s or 70s Merc or do that all day long. But
that's definitely a dream of mine. For sure. I had like a not very cool really, but like a 76 Valiant was my first car.
Love it.
And it was fun to drive. That was a fun summer. For some reason, I don't know how we even did this. Like cars, you could get a car. I got that car for $300.
Oh yeah.
And my girlfriends all got, not all of them, but somebody else had a Dodge Dart. 2 people had a Dodge Dart. I had the Valiant, and we'd like drive to the lake. It was so much fun.
Hell yeah. I went to a wedding and was wearing like a full suit and tie, which is I wear shorts in the wintertime. That's very obtuse for me. And I drive, I'm 6'7", but I drive a Toyota Yaris.
don't know what that looks like. Is it small?
It's a subcompact. It's very tiny.
Okay.
It's just barely bigger than a smart car.
Okay. Is that the only car you have?
Yes, that's the only car I have. But I thought about it. I was like, man, I need to I wish it still was back in the day where I could get like an old Lincoln Continental for $500.
Yeah,
and then,
I know.
And then fix it up as like, because rolling into a wedding in a suit and tie and a big old 68 Lincoln Continental with the suicide. Oh,
Very cool.
Yeah.
Now, I only asked you about the car thing because my husband and I actually have like a Mini Cooper. It's not like particularly new or anything, but it's not old and cool either. But it's so small, and he's only 6 foot, but he looks much taller to most people. But yeah, we cannot like pick up anything. We cannot buy something at a garage sale. We cannot. It's like nothing fits in the car. It's not practical at all. He's a musician and he can barely fit his guitar in there. It's like,
I will say, take a look at, so I've got a 2-door, it's actually called a 3-door Yaris hatchback. And the back seats are bigger than most modern cars. Like there's actually room in between the passenger seat and the back. And when you fold it down, it has a ton of room. I've fit stuff in there to where people are like, I don't know, can you get that in your? I was like, yes, I can. I didn't have to strap it to the roof. Like I found a photo of where I had to buy a new TV and it was a 50-inch flat screen. I found at Best Buy for like $225. And I was like, I'm buying that. And then I was like, oh shit, I drive a Yaris. And that's all the comments were like, did you fit? I was like, yes, it fit. It's fine.
No, I hear you. It's the problem for us too.
Oh yeah. That's all. Shoot. Now we've gone down a rabbit hole. I've got to go back to
go back to photography, or I don't know.
Yeah. So here, I'm going to go a little bit further. So you were talking about like circling that guy's, seeing that car, circling it a couple of times. So you're kind of, would it be fair to say you're known for like the diners and like the old cars more? Yes, no?
I don't know. I think you'd have to ask somebody else.
Okay.
Known for.
But it seems like a lot of location or something that it's not happenstance. It's very.
Yes and no. I will say that. Well, first of all, I moved out to Pennsylvania in 2018, and I live in the Lehigh Valley, like in sort of a Rust Belt area. Okay. And that's been what I've been photographing for a long time. So it's really great that I now live here. And so that doesn't answer your question, but it used to be that, I lived in New York. My husband was born and raised there. And I would like plan something, but now that I kind of live out here, I'm always, driving around just looking. But I think like for me, the best way that things generally happen is if I have one thing in mind, like I'm going to drive to Scranton to photograph this diner that I know about. And then it's usually like you find even better things on the way to where you're going. That's what I generally find. So, and I love to photograph things sort of repeatedly over time. I haven't been here long enough to make that, I hope it's special in the long run, but to see things change, like even like say if I lived in that area still in Brooklyn, I'd probably photograph that car for like 10 years, what happens to it? Does the person move away? Does it age? And I love that with diners. I think the diners, I kind of love the way that people have personalized the interiors, just like the little things, like people's photographs or their like mug with some funny saying on it, and like the human touch in them. You'll see some of them that were built in the 40s, and there's like elbow marks on the counters from all the people that sat there. It's kind of that kind of thing that interests me. Yeah, is like time and change, and like I don't know if you know this about diners. I don't know what you know about diners, but like true diners are manufactured in a factory.
Really? So, no, I did not know that.
They have a number. They have a stamp. It's usually above the door. So if you come in the door of a diner and you look up, it'll say like Silk City Diner Company number 5203, and that'll be the third diner built in 1952 by that company. No idea. It's fascinating to me, at least, that all these things kind of roll off the assembly line, and then they become so personalized and from me for time. That's what I like. Well,
I was thinking about, there's a restaurant here that's like a neighborhood restaurant that if you looked at it from the outside, you wouldn't think anything about it because it just looks like white cinder block, painted cinder block. But you walk inside and it looks like a 1950s diner, like all the wood paneling, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And it's the thing I'm always fascinated about is how it went from smoking to non-smoking, because at one point, because you can still see like where ashtrays sat. Or there was a point where that restaurant still had ashtrays sitting out, even though they didn't allow smoking, like weird stuff like that.
And I really love it when I see, there'll be this like halo around a photograph on the wall, and you can see that like that's where the smoke is like kind of traced on there.
Yeah, because I remember growing up, and we have Shoney's down here, and they would have a room in the back there, like, oh, that's the smoking section, and it would just be wide open to where, and it was right in front of the buffet, and I was just like, really, okay. And my dad and uncles and mom, all them smoke, so we were always sitting back there, and I was like, this is hilarious. Like,
yeah, I do remember that. And I think I was pretty young, but my father is actually Australian. And we flew to Australia on some major deal. Like I was taken out of my school year to go because it was so cheap. And we flew from like where I'm from, Victoria, to San Francisco, to Hawaii, to Fiji, to Auckland, to Cairns, Australia, to Sydney. It was like more than 24 hours. And we were in the smoking section of the, the whole thing was like billowing in black, and there was like crazy.
Oh my God. You're saying that the only time I rode on a plane when I was a kid, we flew to Michigan and we were in the smoking section. They had those little metal flip, like in the car, like
the
little ashtrays. Because my mom was back there with her Virginia Slims smoking.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I remember just like coughing. My parents didn't smoke. I think it was just like the only seats that were available.
Like, hey, these are cheaper. We're going to sit back here.
Probably. And there was a bar. Like, I don't think they have this anymore. There was a bar on the plane. Like my dad went to the bar. I recall.
Oh my God.
Did I make this up? I was very little, but like I seem to remember that there was a second floor. This could be a dream.
I bet so. Back in the day, for those long haul flights, I bet you're 100% right that they had to make them more.
Sounds a little crazy. Well, yeah, now especially with there's not even like a TV in front of you, and you're like your knees are up in your chin. And
oh, tell me about it. So,
yeah, I guess so.
The last flight I was on was down to Jacksonville to visit some friends. And I got in the plane and I told my friend when we got off, I was like, have they made the seat smaller? Because I'm not bigger.
Yes,
and he was like, they literally have made seats. I was like, I almost could not fit into the seat.
Yeah.
And I've cut my knees open on the little gears in front of me. And he was like, no, they've compacted down. I was like, that was one of the most uncomfortable flights where I was almost like, can I just rip this seat in front of me out, please?
You probably could.
Probably doesn't take much. But yeah, thinking back when I was a kid, I was like, now I realize I was a kid, but it felt a lot more roomy back then.
I think it's both things. But I have a secret for you and all of your listeners. I just discovered this very small secret. But I flew Delta, and now you have to pay to book your seat, of course. So, and they won't even let you book it when you get to the airport. You have to wait until the gate for whatever it is they give you. Do you know about this?
No.
But I did it. I just flew to Atlanta like last month, and I did it that way both times. And both times they put everybody who didn't book their seat, I shouldn't tell anybody this because now it's going to be blown, in the exit row.
Really?
So we had like double leg room. It was great. I would have paid like $40 to book the seat that was not like that. Those seats, I think what it is those seats are more expensive to book. So no one books them. So they're left. So if you don't book anything, you get the best seats.
So before all this, I worked at a job where I got to go to conferences every year. And my former boss was a 5'3" woman. And she would be like, oh, I always book the exit row. And I was like, and I always want to yell at you when I walk past. But I think it was, you would pay extra for those. I've only, I think, gotten upgraded to the exit row one time. And I was coming back from Boston, and the lady doing the thing, she She went, let's see, we've got you in seat.
She like,
Oh no. She said, oh no, honey. And then put me, I was like, thank you. Thank you.
that's nice.
But she did look me up. Oh no, honey. I was like, this is amazing. I love this. Where can I get her everywhere I go?
Yeah, I've never met her before. I will tell you that.
Now I'm remembering you went to the OG Waffle House in Atlanta,
I
or it's
did.
up in Decatur, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes. That was very cool.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I was going to say, I don't know how far. A friend of mine lived in Jersey and moved down here, and she said the Waffle Houses progressively got better the further to the home base you got, to the closer to Atlanta you got.
Well, I feel a little fake because I've never eaten at a Waffle House. And I generally always eat wherever I photograph. That's just a thing. I want to always, patronize the business that I'm photographing, but it was closed. It was, yeah. And we have like one sort of near me up here, but I've never photographed nor eaten there. So.
It's weird. Like I had one in, I'm a Waffle House in nut. Like I love it. And because it's consistent and it's open all the time. Mm-hmm. And usually when I'm traveling or driving, I was like, I know I can rely on this. I've had some sketchy barbecue where I've been like, I don't feel good. Like, yeah. Mm-hmm. But I noticed the further north I got, like into Ohio, I was like, it doesn't have, it doesn't, what I think is they actually clean the grease off the grill up here. But I was at one in Kentucky where they were, and this is like 3 years ago, they were still smoking in it. And I was like, I don't think this is legal. And they had regulars that were hanging out. So in going to any of these diners, have you encountered some that are still smoking at this point?
That's funny that I have not, because in Pennsylvania, there are places where people still smoke. There are bars where people are still allowed to smoke. I don't know if it's legal, but it's not like common, but it's not uncommon. But diners, maybe it's because there's food, you know. I think they were like, isn't that the way it went? I don't remember. Like, didn't restaurants cut off first and then bars were last to stop smoking?
I think it may be state by state, because there was one point where I don't know if it was the state or the city made it to where the venue had to be 21 and up if you allowed smoking.
Okay.
And there was a restaurant that we called it Grandma's Kitchen. I don't know what it was really called, but we called it Grandma's Kitchen, that they kept the smoking, and it screwed them over because families would come in there. Even though it was smoking, families would come. This is like 2010, would come in there and still eat lunch. Mm-hmm. And they finally had to shut down because they had to start carding people at the door for breakfast and lunch, which was hilarious.
That is funny.
Yeah.
I was going to say something and I don't remember what.
Sorry.
No, it was about the Waffle House. Oh yeah. I mean, I'm always interested in photographing them just because they're pretty iconic looking. But I mean, my husband just does not get it. He's like, why would you want to photograph that? Like, I think it's like a thing, right? The photographers do. Like, it's I see them, and it's one of the fun.
Yeah, I was going to say it's one of those things to where I would say if you can find old ones. Because so many have been fixed.
Yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah.
One of the photos I'm most proud of, and it's still the dumbest thing in the world. I wanted to shoot a Waffle House, the front of it, at night. Mm-hmm. So my buddy and I literally put my camera on a tripod, walked up, got it, was looking the other way and went click, and then looked at it and was like, yep, that's good. And I was like, why are we doing this? We were afraid we were going to get in trouble. And it's still one of my favorite shots because like a year later they tore down that one and built a mega Waffle House next to it.
Yeah. I think it's sometimes fun if there's like one or two things that every photographer kind of does, because then you can compare it across everybody. But there was a woman, I think her name was Tammy Mercure. I don't know how to pronounce that. And she did a series. I think it was every Waffle House in Tennessee. I don't know if you saw that, but it was pretty cool. And that's why piqued my interest in it. And that was a while ago. Yeah.
I'm going to look that up because she will have my heart.
To New Orleans. And I met her there at Photo Nola. which is
That's awesome.
I'm looking it up too.
Okay.
We can look it up together while we talk.
Yeah, Waffle House. I don't, and it's one of those things. I don't know if it's because it's kind of the same thing with like Jack Daniels, to where it's like, did you say Micah Cash? Is that right? I found one that was Micah Cash.
No, I did not, but I just chatted you.
And okay.
I was really wrong with it. She did a little book, it looks like.
Boom.
And it's called 12 Nashville Waffle Houses.
Okay. I found one that is called Waffle.
It's in the chat.
Awesome. Waffle House Vistas by Micah Cash. It was for the biz. Oh, it's inside the Waffle Houses.
And then here's another one she did. Here's her actual series from her website. So
awesome.
Very cool.
Nice yeah, it's kind of funny. There are things that oh God, these are great. There are things that I love. And a friend of mine, we were talking about, she said, how has Oreo not hired you to do work for them, do artwork or design? I was like, yeah, they should. I promote them enough. And so I'm about to hit 5 years of working for myself. And I for the 5 years, I'm going to do like a piece every week. Like, here are my dream clients. And I was like, it's not Nike. It's not anybody like that. It's Oreo. It's Waffle House. I got to figure out some hot sauce that I love. Like, that's what's important to me. Screw Nike.
No, this is sort of embarrassing to admit, but it seems like Coca-Cola is in so many of my shots, just unintentionally, generally, that I actually did a little zine like many years ago called Series Coca-Cola. And I sent it to Coca-Cola, then never heard back. But I was like, come on, man. Got a lot of Coca-Cola in my photographs. You could do something with these.
Did you hear me? I'm surprised because I went to the Coca-Cola Museum in Atlanta. It's actually very neat. I actually love seeing all those old advertisements and old signage.
Wish I had gone to that. I didn't think of it.
Yeah.
You remember you mentioned earlier in our conversation that I think you said it seems like, or you didn't say it seems like, but that maybe I plan, ahead.
Mm-hmm.
I did not plan anything for my Atlanta trip at all. I was visiting a really good friend. So that was, more what it was about. And there was one diner that I knew I wanted to go to. I think it's the Silver Skillet. Is that right?
That sounds familiar. If not, I'm writing it down because I've got friends in Atlanta. Okay.
It was super cool. Yes.
Silver Skillet.
And that was it. Like, I was like, that's what I want to go to. And then, of course, we found like a bunch of other great stuff. But I didn't also want to. I can be really annoying to travel with. You can maybe imagine. My husband is always pulling off the road. So, I didn't want to do that to my friend too much.
Oh, my God. Yeah, if you were up in Decatur, so did you pass by that weird section where it looks like a Bavarian town?
No.
Yeah.
I think my friend really wanted to show me Decatur, and something was going on with traffic, and we got rerouted, and then
always.
We didn't do. Yeah, I figured that out. Like, traffic's a big deal in Atlanta, so we didn't. That was me. Like, I did ask for the Waffle House wasn't asked as well. Once I found out about that.
So one of my previous guests, he lives in Decatur, and we went to lunch before we started recording. And when we came out, it's this weird little strip that looks like Bavaria. And there's another town called Rome, Georgia, that the entire town looks like, Germany in the 20s. Okay. But it's insane. But we passed by that, and then all of a sudden the Waffle House was on the left. Like half a mile away. I was like, right there. Okay. I was like, what in the hell is happening in this town, man?
That's really cool. Well, I'm definitely going to go back. I love Atlanta. I don't know. Like, I didn't know what to expect at all.
Yeah.
I had heard that it was doing really well, that there were a lot of jobs available, good place to move. So I had in my head that it was going to be all like big glass, tall buildings and really, really modern. And in fact, it had so much character, and the people were so friendly.
extend this offer. If you all ever want to come to East Tennessee, I can tell you the towns to go to where you'll find.
I would love that.
Because there was a point when I was in my early 20s, still living with my folks, to where I would just pick a Saturday morning, get up at like 6 a.m. and just pick a way out of town and just drive and find these little towns in like Western North Carolina, or if people from here like Dandridge or Clinton or all these weird towns, to where it's like, this is a snapshot in time. Like these places have been here forever. Like
I would love that information.
Yeah,
I don't get down to the South very often, but I like to.
I also do not recommend it this time of year because it's in the 90s and 99% humidity. And I'm dying. I'm just like, good Lord.
Yeah. Well, it's been pretty weirdly. I mean, Pennsylvania is not chilly. It's pretty. Right. It's very humid. I'm from Canada, so I still to this day do not know Fahrenheit all that well. But I think that where I'm from, it's like 70 in the summer, something like that, and no humidity at all.
Oh God, that's my dream.
The winter is like 40. It's very like the same.
Oh, it's mild.
Yeah,
it's not,
I am from I think what you would call the Florida of Canada. It's the retirement capital of Canada.
Okay, that could have gone a lot of ways with the Florida.
You're right. I had to quickly qualify that. No, I mean, but people retire there because it's the warmest winter in Canada. I mean, not. Yeah. Well, it's known that way. Maybe there's like one place that's warmer, but it's very, very mild. And then in the summer, it's not super hot, so it's just really livable. Yeah.
That's awesome. There are pockets of like LA that are that way. That it like never gets above like 80, and
so that's the thing. Like we're on the same, with
side.
Seattle, Portland, San Francisco. It sort of shares that weather, but there's like a mountain range right beside us where I don't really know how this works, but I guess the rain like dumps there, so we don't get as much rain as Seattle or Portland.
That's the weird thing about growing up here is like as you come east in Tennessee, there's the plateau around Crossville, Cookville. And so like there would always be these crazy like tornadoes when I was a kid, and even now, like in the west of that. And the story was always that they would hit the plateau and bounce back. They would never go over the plateau. And that's why we didn't get crazy storms like that here.
Where are you?
I'm in Knoxville, dead center, East Tennessee. And
I have a friend that teaches at East Tennessee State University.
In Johnson City.
Yeah, in Johnson City.
I've got 3 friends that teach.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, one of them's in graphic design and 2 are in printmaking.
They might know each other. She's the head of the photography program.
Okay.
I'm guessing they know each other.
They probably do. So that is the most East Tennessee Knoxville thing ever. Like I love telling this story. I was in Chicago. I like to smoke cigars. I do it as not to be douchey, but as a communal like relaxation thing. Right. I always joke that me and 2 of my buddies, like we're trying to bring it back to this is just a relaxation community thing. It's not about how much money we got or anything, because we're smoking cheap as shit cigars. But I was in this place in Chicago and you had to smoke outside on the sidewalk, and I walked out and this dude was sitting across from me and he looked at me and he's like, "You're not from here." I was like, "No, sir." He's like, "Where are you from?" I was like, "East Tennessee." He's like, "Oh, where in Tennessee?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm in Knoxville." And he's like, "Oh, my cousin lives in Knoxville. She owns a landscaping company." I was like, "Oh, you mean Deirdre?" And he was like, "How the fuck did you what the hell just happened?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I know her." Yeah. He freaked out. He couldn't believe it. I had met her a week before. And I was like, "No, that's a Knoxville thing." It's like, "Oh yeah, I know that person. Yeah, I got a connection somehow, some way." It's nuts.
Yeah, this is my first time in a really long time living in a small town.
Which part is the Lehigh Valley? Is it on the west or the east?
It is. So I'm in Easton. Okay. That might give you a clue. My town is called Easton. Okay. And it's there's a bridge in our town that literally goes into New Jersey. So it's right on the state line between New Jersey and Pennsylvania.
So one time I was staying in Jersey and I drove back and I drove through Pennsylvania on the interstate to the center of Pennsylvania and down. And I was
Yeah.
amazed at how much central Pennsylvania looked like East Tennessee because of the
Yeah.
mountains and stuff. It just,
It is beautiful here. It's really beautiful.
it was insane.
But I was going to say, like, I've never lived in such a small town. And it is true that you'll get to know people quickly, but people will also know you and what you're doing. You and your business. It's like so weird. You'll go to the market maybe, and then later you'll come home and you will have called some contractor or a handyman or something to come over, and they will have seen you at the market. Oh yeah, I just saw you buying something like this and that. And you're like, oh, okay.
It's weird because Knoxville is considered the big city to all of the places around, but I know people from other places are like, oh, Knoxville's just a tiny town. It's like, it's not. It's like number 67, 70 in the largest population, and it's growing. Like that's what, when you mentioned moving to Atlanta, that's what my buddy told me. He lives down in Decatur. He was like, it's becoming impossible to live in Atlanta. And I feel like that's kind of everywhere. I feel like you may be in a good safe space in that you're in a smaller town, because like Nashville it's impossible to get a house, Austin, and then here it's becoming like people are paying $60,000 over asking price for houses coming from Florida, New York, New Jersey, and California.
Really?
Yeah, it's
we
insane.
have the housing boom going on here too, but not to the same extent. And the town really hasn't grown to my knowledge that much, which is surprising to me because it's 90 minutes from New York.
Yeah.
So I was actually commuting to New York for a while for my job, and you can easily do it, and it's really cheap to live out here. So maybe I shouldn't give that secret away.
Cut the.
I feel like New Yorkers, they all move to like upstate New York, Hudson, all these areas, and they're really pricey. And then where we are, not that many people move here. But
there's a buddy of mine, Nick, that lived here. I'm going to deflect and say, but if you want to be closer, he lives in Philly and goes to New York, and he
commutes.
He commuted, for a few years. There's a professional organization for you probably AIGA, American Institute of Graphic Arts. So I'm used to having to explain that to people. I'm not used to having somebody, but he worked for the main office. And he would commute because he and I would talk while he was on the train home. We would just talk because he was like, he was like, I'm not going to talk to you at the office. I'm going to be on the train for an hour and a half. I'll call you then. I was like, okay, sounds good.
Nice. Yeah, I was just going to school in Philly actually. And I'm still not finished, but of course I've been doing the last year or so online. But there was a brief time during my MFA that I had a studio that I went to, and of course I can go there again, but I don't have any classes left. So
nice. That's awesome. What made you make the decision to go ahead and go back for the MFA?
Insanity.
I've got a small group of friends that all of them like went back and got their masters in fine arts, and a lot of them, that's what brought them to Knoxville, was going to UT.
I taught myself. So I thought, is there something that would help to expand the way that I work? There's definitely a massive skill set that I don't have. But I still don't have it. I ended up taking sort of like theory courses and art history courses, and there really aren't at the master's level anyway, they're not really like technical courses. You'd have to take undergrad courses, and I didn't do it. It's more like conceptual, or like, why are you doing this? And talk about that kind of thing. But I thought that I was going to go and like learn how to use a large format camera, learn how to do really technical things, and I didn't. I would say the one thing that I really love that I took away from it, and that I will continue to do, that I never post on my Instagram, nobody knows that I do this kind of work, but is like the historical processes. I love them. I don't know if you know about any of that stuff, but I'm really into anthotypes right now, which is like plant and fruit juice.
Oh shit, no.
Yeah, you coat your paper like with a paintbrush, and then create like a large digital negative, and it's a contact print.
Okay.
They're really beautiful.
We have a community darkroom here in
Mm-hmm.
Knoxville. This group of people started that, and I'm doing the website for a group called The Big Camera, and
Oh
they
yeah,
do a lot of nature. They do cyanotype. Is that
Santa.
what's
Yeah, yeah,
cyanotype? They do a lot of stuff with
yeah.
laying and doing that,
Hmm.
and trying to teach that to like kids and stuff.
Well, yeah, it's super fun. Anyone can do it, and you may know this, but it really exploded in the last year or so because you didn't
Oh,
need a dark room. You didn't need to. You could just do it outside. A lot of people lost access to their facilities, so they were looking for things that they could
yeah.
do at home.
And they've done more than that. Like they did, I think they got a grant and did a series through uh, we have a great nonprofit here called the Aslan Foundation, ASLAN. There's my secret to give away. They give away like millions of dollars every year to artists.
Mm-hmm.
And they did a series, and it was all women wearing like tape over their mouths that said vote. And it was, I think, before 2018, the 2018 election.
Mm-hmm.
And they put them up all over town.
Cool.
And it was everything from like kids to grown-ups. And so they do all kind. Hell, why am I promoting? I don't know, because they're awesome. They're
Okay,
great.
sounds like a good
They're great
organization.
people.
Yeah,
They're great people.
yeah, that's cool.
Also, this always turns into me selling my town to people because I'm born and raised here, and I'm one of few that still live here. So I love this city. But we'll keep. I'm gonna go back to, so when you're photographing, when you're scouting, when you find the place, you said, you try to pay, you try to support the business.
Mhm.
Do you sit and talk to like the owners? Have you ever thought about doing a side series of just interviews with like people?
Oh, I'm really shy. And I don't photograph people very often. It's hard because I go in, I I often go with my husband. We often like, this is something we do for fun.
Yeah.
Um, I'm really like, I get really nervous. We walk, like when we walk in the door and I look, I'm always like, I'll pick the seat, I'll pick the seat. But he knows that. He's done it a million, I mean, I say it every time. And I look around
I love it.
and I look for like the spot that's going to get the best light where there aren't too many people. I'm just like, and I like zoom in on that spot and sit. And then basically I spend the whole time like rubbernecking, looking for like when someone gets up, what they left on the table, how it looks.
Yeah.
You know, but what I would love to do, you said the thing about talking to the owners. I'm super interested because I look through my catalog a lot because I'm working on a book right now. And accidentally I keep catching these women working the grill or working like the hot dog grill. I don't know if this is a thing everywhere, but in the Cole region, which I live nearby, there are all of these hot dog places. They're called generally like Coney Island lunches or Texas lunch or something. And the hot dogs are in the window. It's really beautiful. And there's generally like some places, there are generally women that have worked there for like 40 plus years at this grill. Yeah. And I don't want anyone to steal my idea. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm all about sharing. But yeah, it occurred to me that that would be a really great series.
I never thought about that. Save a Waffle House. It's usually guys working the grill.
It is. Yeah. But for some reason, not at the hot dog grills and not at a lot of diner grills around here. I've seen it. And it interests me. Yeah. I think it would be a pretty cool series. I did, where was that? A place called town is Broadheadsville. And I don't know if I'm saying that right, in Pennsylvania. Okay. There was like a young woman working the grill and she was killing it. And it's like, it's fascinating to watch. I will sometimes like sit at the bar and, there are different styles of diners and sometimes there's a grill like right out there and other times they're in the kitchen. But when they're right out there, it's pretty interesting to see. And she had finesse this woman.
That's a Waffle House thing. Cause it used to be going there for years. God, I'm shilling for.
You're selling the Waffle House here.
Yeah. It used to be older dudes. You would see some guy that was like in his 60s or 70s sitting there working the grill. And then it became like not younger, 30s, 40s. And then now when I go, you'll see a woman in her 20s or,
Really?
early 30s sitting there working the grill. Yeah. There's some Waffle Houses I've been to where it's been all women in there, not one dude, which is, I think at this point also they're it seems like everybody, even my friends who own restaurants, are struggling so much for employees that.
Yeah, I'm seeing that.
But it's, I don't know. You're saying that about talking to your husband about that. So you've been doing it so long. Do you know where the light you want to shoot is?
Not at all. Like,
not at all.
I'll well, I mean, it's true though. Like, I've lived here 3 years now and things are feeling smaller. Like I've gone to a lot of places. Yeah, I love to be surprised by a place. It's easy enough in most cases to look up like the interior of a place and figure it out ahead of time, but I don't do that.
Okay.
I don't know.
Have you ever went in and you're like, okay, we're going to sit here, and then like 10 minutes later, like, great, wait, hold on, can we move over there?
Yes. Absolutely.
That's
my husband doesn't generally listen to these podcasts, and it's probably a good thing. He would be like, yes, she does. Yes, she does. And
wait, I need to do a follow-up of commentary with him throughout.
And he's like, he's like 6 foot or something, and he's a pretty like tall body, so he's a tall guy. And I'll always be like, can you move to your left just a little bit more? Can you crouch down? Because I'm trying to like photograph past him. I'm like, okay, now go all the way to your right. Perfect. Can you have your coffee cup? How about your plate? Just like it's like Jesus. It's like I started eating my lunch. Yeah.
He picks up his keys, dangles them. Do you want me to wait in the car? Do you want me to just wait in the car? I'll just go wait in the car.
Yeah. But it's also, I mean, I'm really glad. I really like, happy he goes with me because it tracks from what I'm doing. I remember what I was going to say, because you were like, do you ever sit with the owners or what have you? I really like to catch people, and I like to catch people unaware, so it's not like they're posing. Right. But I'd like to think that I've never posted an unflattering photo of anybody. I never want to be mean. It's always like coming from a good place. I'm not trying to like catch somebody out. I'm just trying to catch somebody being natural. So when he's there, it looks like we're just having lunch, and I'm sure people notice the camera eventually, but I try to be really quick about it. And sometimes I can look like I'm photographing him, giving away all my secrets here, but I'm really photographing like somebody, or not. I don't photograph people a lot, but just like a line that's going behind him.
Yeah.
It's just easier. If you do that commentary with him, by the way, I'm just kidding, but I need him to go to 2 places with me in the next week, and he doesn't want to do it.
Oh my God. No, it'll be me going, here's the thing, man. Waffle House is awesome. It'll just be an hour and a half of me convincing him that Waffle House is awesome. We won't even touch on what you said.
You got a very stereotypical old school New Yorker on your hands. So. Here's what's funny is, in my city, they're used to, the downtown was dead from when I was a kid up until like maybe like 2005. Finally, businesses start going in. And there was an old Arby's that they were only there because the lawyers and whoever worked in the buildings would go down there and eat at lunchtime. And that was it. And it was this big, huge shotgun of an Arby's. And forever, every time I passed it, I was like, I want to turn that into a 24/7 diner. Something like you'd see in New York. I was like, that's what that needs to be. And everybody's like, you're nuts. It wouldn't support that. And now when you go downtown, there's all kinds of bars open till 3 a.m. that have to serve food because people are still out. And I was like, no, that's what that should be. I was like, you'll lose money like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but you'll make it up Thursday through the weekend. Like, did it have one of those old like big top hat signs? Do you know the ones?
No, we do still have one of those like a mile and a half from my house. That's here. You gave away your secret. You gave away your secrets. I'll give away my secrets. I want to do a series of drawings of the front of like the original or old fast food restaurants, like the old Taco Bell. How they used to look, like the 70s and 80s Taco Bell, or the old Burger King, how they used to have the crazy brick and or Wendy's that has the weird awnings. That's the stuff I would love to. And the Arby's hat would have to be on there, because the buildings used to be almost like, I don't want to say like a teepee, but they were oddly shaped.
For that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna screw it up. I think it's like Mansard roof or something. I don't know.
Yeah, but we have one that's about a mile and a half from my house that is still
Mansard. Sorry.
Okay.
Mansard. Yeah.
That is still that old school. They've updated the inside and everything, but it's still that old school. I was like, oh man.
Yeah. I photographed like a few fast food joints for the New York Times recently, because I guess there was this phenomenon that during the pandemic, when everything was closed, you could still go through drive-throughs. So they got really busy, but I was really careful, and I like looked everywhere for a real old McDonald's that had that kind of roof, and they were really hard to find.
Yeah.
It was like they're all part of a mall now or something, and like completely different building.
So it's weird. I think one of our McDonald's here, the one that I grew up going to, I think was one of the original McDonald's. Like, really? It was one of the first ones. There was a family around here called like the Kroger family, and I don't think they're related to. Oh. I don't think they were related to the Kroger grocery stores. I think they were different, and they built those. And it's weird because someone told me at one point they're like they would rather completely renovate the inside every 7 years. There's some kind of math to it, like. Completely renovate it every 7 years than just let it be. And that always freaked me out. There was one that was built that made to look like a 50s that had the big giant arches that came out the front. Yeah. And they sold like Coke sundaes with peanuts.
I tried that for the first time when I was in Atlanta. My friend, sorry to
no
take away your
no. No, I mean,
that was fascinating. It was so good. So we went to a gas station. I was like, oh, I got to buy a Coke. I'm in Atlanta. And she's like, well, if you really want to do it, you got to take this. And she bought some peanuts. She's like, put this in your Coke. Yep. And it was good.
Yeah.
Really good. I don't know if you agree, but I thought it was delicious.
It's weird. It's weird. My dad, I think it's also one of those things. My dad did that so often that I was like, ugh, no.
Oh, okay.
This is not my thing. I think he would do it with Dr. Pepper too. Oh. Like, yeah. I
think like I drank the Coke pretty quick because it was really hot, so the peanuts stayed crunchy. Yeah. She said that when she was little, they'd all go mushy on the bottom.
Yeah,
it didn't sound very appetizing.
Oh, it's weird. Like I have all my little picadillos about soft drinks because I grew up drinking soft drinks so much. Like Mountain Dew is better in a can, ice cold. It's all those.
Better in a can. Come on.
The Coca
or glass.
Yeah, I was going to say the Coca-Cola in a glass bottle. Yeah. And there's a Mexican market and restaurant here that has the Mexican Coke in the tall glass bottles. And every time I'm in there, it's like, yep, I'll take one of those. And this is delicious.
Yeah, that's what happened at this gas station. They had the glass Coke. And I don't know if I would have done the peanuts otherwise because it seemed good. But I wouldn't. Yeah. I don't even buy those plastic things. If there's not a can, I won't buy it. And not those huge cans. Those like 750 milliliter cans they got now or whatever. No, thank you. Small can.
Here's something that'll fry your brain. I used to drink 5 to 7 2 liters of Mountain Dew a day. Wow. And then would drink another 2 liter when I got home.
5 to 7?
Yeah.
Holy crap.
So like these UT football cups, I would fill it full of Mountain Dew and put ice and drink it in one gulp.
Holy. Yeah, that is. What'd you say it would do to my brain? I think it happened.
Fry. so the flip side is now like I buy the Kroger brand Sprite Zero, which I know but I drink one maybe every 2 or 3 days, just after dinner, just as something.
I like Coke Zero. I'm okay with that.
I've got a lot of friends that fuss at me about that. I was like, but I used to drink this. So this
you're doing good.
Is better.
Yeah, I don't drink a lot of it, but if I'm tired, I drink a lot of coffee. I love coffee, but there's something about a Coke too. And I find that Coke Zero tastes like Coke. It tastes real.
Yeah, that's what I would drink when I stuck to Coke Zero. And I only buy it. I told this to my uncles the other night. I buy the Kroger brand, which is called Big K Sprite Zero, because it actually tastes like it has lemon and lime in it. Whereas Sprite just tastes like sugar water to me.
Right. I haven't drank a Sprite. I can't remember when. And I don't even know if I've tried a Mountain Dew. That's pretty weird, isn't it?
Mountain Dew it's a special kind of chemical.
It's not a soda.
How did you feel after, like, did it even affect you? I
Oh.
mean, you did it for so long.
I would drink a cup this size and immediately go to bed. Like
The sugar would crash you out, right? That's what happened.
I guess. I think I was also working like 16 to 17 hours a day. So I needed something, and I didn't really drink coffee then. But it's wild now. I can still drink a pot of coffee and go to bed, but I just clamp my jaw down the entire night. Like I drank I do all this to myself, so it's earned. I drank a large peanut butter milkshake from a place I love at 11 o'clock one night and went to bed at midnight and woke up and could not open my mouth because all the sugar just was coursing through my body, and I just clamped down, and it screwed up my jaw pretty bad for a couple of days. I was in a lot of pain.
Here you go, blowing my mind again with these stories.
But I was like, I can't do that ever again. So now it's like no coffee, no sugar after a certain point at night. It's like, this would just ruin me. Okay. Yeah. I quit blowing your mind. So I'm going to try and wrap us up here. I got two more.
I got a couple. Like, you know, I have a dear friend come by, help me put up a shelf at 1:30. So
I do not want to impede that, because God knows. Yeah.
I have a kitten, and she has been eating all of my plants, and it's getting very sad. Like, I gotta get all the plants up. I thought they were high enough, but guess what? She got bigger and she could get up higher.
That's how it always
put
works.
the shelf up by the ceiling, and then we'll hope for the best.
One of my buddies, he had a cat that was a big cat. Like, we got to put this cat on a diet. And in his kitchen, you know, the cabinets with the open around the top. So he drink, and he would collect the bottles, like cool liquor bottles. And he put them up there. And every once in a while, Storm Show, the cat would get up there like 12 feet in the air. And I was like, how did that 50-pound or whatever that cat get? Like, how the hell and would start there and start nudging the bottles. And it was lucky that there was like a lip that big to where he couldn't tip them over because they were so bottom heavy. But he's like, I don't know how he does it. I don't know how he does it.
I can see the promo for this podcast that I'll post about it. I'll be like, so I did podcasts. We didn't talk about photography. We talked about Waffle Houses, Mountain Dew, and 50-pound cats.
As it always. And he's still trying to sell me on going to Waffle House more often. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go, guys. Let's have a drinking game where we keep track how many times you say
so you previously published a book that I looked up and I saw it was sold out, that I have. Yeah. I got that book.
You do?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. Thank you.
So what was the thought process in putting a book together? Like, did you do that yourself? Did a publisher come to you? Like, how did that work?
That book was a long process, but it was really nice. I actually went to a photography consultant. Her name is Sasha Wolf, and she's great. She recently put out a book with Aperture, which I love, and she has a podcast too, so you might want to check it out. Anyway, nice. I went to Sasha, and she looks through my work. It's, and I was like starting to get a little traction on the gram, on the Instagram. I was like, what do I do with this? And she helped me to edit down like kind of a smaller body of work, because she was like, you need to be going out there and trying to get some jobs. You can do this and all this. So she was really great, and she set like a deadline for me to like go approach somebody. Anyway, long story short, she ended up at, I think it was like a photo festival in Chicago or something. And that publishing company that I used, Ain't Bad, was there at the same time. They were both like doing photo reviews or something like that. Okay. And she mentioned me to them. And I think that's how the first sort of spark came to my publishing with them.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, when you're obsessive and you constantly photograph and you have like thousands and thousands and thousands of photos, you're kind of like, it's nice if people see them, so that's kind of what the book's about, I think.
I was going to say, but isn't that daunting then, having to whittle down to like...
Terrible. It's terrible. I've been doing it for the second book. I have been doing it for the last 2 months, and my pasteboard and my InDesign is full. Every page has 4 or 5 up. off to the side that are not being used. And I had a friend of mine over who was in my MFA program just to look at the book, you know, and she's like, but like every time we scrolled through a page because she sees stuff on the side, it is really hard. But I don't know, I'm going to be really optimistic and hope, I don't care, even if I have to publish my own photo books, I hope to do more. So I'm like hoping that, you know, eventually everything that I love will get out there somewhere. But, you know, the thing that people don't know, I think, is, in my mind anyway, it's like how they fit together. I think a photo book is very different, obviously, than individual photographs or even a show of work. So it's about like pacing and like repetition or lack of repetition, color, like how do things go together, giving the eye like a visual break every once in a while. So what you end up with might not even have your favorite photographs in it, you know, because they don't fit with where your mind took you when you were doing that first edit. Yeah, it's really hard. It's really hard. I come up here, this is like my work office studio, and just like, it'll be like 4 or 5 hours and I will have moved things around and then gone back to where I was again. It's terrible.
It's like some pulling together a portfolio for graphic design is insane, because there's all that thought process, but there's some pieces that you're like, this may not be the best work I did, but the story behind it is good enough that it has earned its place in here.
Yes. Yeah. There are a few things in this book that I don't know. And they, you know, a lot of people have other people sequence or edit their work because which may even be better. I don't know. Like, I know the story behind every single photograph in there and it matters to me. Does it matter to you? I don't know. Maybe you won't. maybe the photo only works with the story and I have the story and no one else does. You know what I mean? But there are a couple that I've included just because of the backstory, because it's special to me, because it's like one other person, like the owner of the place or the person working the grill, knows what the photo's about, but it matters to me. And it matters that like somebody local to the place will know what it's about. And maybe it's not the most commercially viable photo or whatever, you know what I mean? But yeah,
well, it's kind of like, way off course. No, I'm trying to remember the name of that book. There's a book of New York storefronts.
David and Carla Murray.
That may have been it. Yeah. Where it's really big, but it was a weird shape. But
I don't know about the shape, but
well, it was like,
they're really famous for those. Like, they started that like in New York, as far as I know. Yeah.
But it was really interesting, and like the time that they took the photograph versus the time it got published. It's like, since then, this store has closed. You know, and it could be that for you of like, since then, this diner is closed. So I want to include it.
That's huge. So over half the photos in this book were taken during the pandemic. And even since I have photographed, many of these places have closed or are in danger of closing, or they haven't reopened. And there's some Facebook rumor that they'll never reopen. So that is super special to me. You're right. And I will include them for that reason. I mean, I hope that I like the photographs that I took, but you know, if I'm deciding between two places, that might kick it over. You know, it's really, really sad. It was a very strange time to be photographing these places.
And all I'm thinking of is like, I looked up a donut. I'm also obsessed with donuts, and I looked up a donut shop that was one of my favorite places in Asheville, and it looks like they're gone because they haven't posted since January. And I can't find any information. I was like, shit. Like, they were such a great place. They were kind of a hidden gem, even though they were downtown. I was like, I've been sending anybody that goes to Asheville, I was like, get up and go to this place because they'll sell out and their donuts are amazing. And
I know it's really terrible. And I think that, you know, I think I said this, but like so much of what intrigues me about these businesses and like what I like to photograph is this human touch. And like, the fact that so many of these places are so old and someone's put so much care into maintaining them, and oftentimes they're family businesses, they've been passed down through generations. And when you think of all that, you know, coming to an end, because I spoke to one woman, she's 83, she cooks in the back and serves in the front sometimes, and she owns the diner, but she couldn't afford to retrofit it with the like various shields and stuff that were required, so she just closed. Now, I think because she's owned it for so long, she might be okay to reopen, like maybe, you know, but it's really tough on everybody for sure.
Well,
You know?
you saying that made me think there was a phrase I wrote down in I usually don't write notes, but I wrote notes like questions.
I didn't prepare at all, and I usually
No. But there was a phrase that came to my mind in looking through your work because I went back and looked. I was like, okay, I need to come up with some questions. But I wrote down the term lived in retroism because I think a lot of people think of like retro stuff as like the very clean, like 1950s. This is what 1980s will look like. And
okay. Yeah.
do you know? So does that
I
make
could
sense?
go on about that. I have, I did just do a master's degree, so I did a lot of reading and stuff. Yes. I don't know how to say this. I think that, like, especially being from another country, like I'm an immigrant here. You grow up watching movies and television shows and such that are like more a symbol of an American diner, like Happy Days, or it's not real. It's like based on the thing. Right. You know what I mean? Or I'm trying to think of a movie like Grease or something. Like, these are old movies, but they're not the real thing. But I think that I go to the real place in that it's based on. So, and what often happened, the only reason that is there and it's not renovated is like the highway moved or something. So the place wasn't busy enough to afford renovations. So they're the same, but they're a little decayed. You know what I mean? I think that's what's, in the area that I photograph a lot in the coal region in Pennsylvania. So there's not a lot of money everywhere, and so, but it leaves you with, like, I think a more true impression of the real thing, I guess. I'm not
No,
I don't know how people do your show for, like, by the way, 3 hours without, like, I don't know. I'm already tired. I have to go to the bathroom.
Oh my God.
I'm kidding. Actually, I'm kidding. But I was like, what does he do? Like, this is so long.
The longest one I did, I think, was like 6.5 hours.
Oh my God. What did you guys pass out afterwards? Did you take a nap partway through?
No, here's what's funny. The guy stood in my kitchen and we talked for another hour and a half.
Oh my God.
He's the most fascinating dude. He was like 45, and within 24 hours, he lost his job in PR and found out his wife was cheating on him.
Oh my goodness.
And so
really talk it out.
Yeah. And his dad, this was like 2 or 3 years later when we talked, and his dad said, screw it, come live with me. Don't worry about anything. Don't worry about getting a job. Just live here. You're going to be okay. And so he said, have you always wanted to do? And he's like, I wanted to get into comedy. So he started grinding, doing stand-up comedy, and got to the point where before the pandemic, he was a regionally touring comedian after like 5 or 6 years.
That's a nice story. I like it.
But he also,
oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, but one of the things we went down a rabbit hole on was, do you know who Alex Haley is? Roots, the author.
Yeah, I read that. Yeah.
So he was he's not from Knoxville, but he moved here very early on. And so my buddy, straight out of high school, Alex Haley came up with these little historic pewter figures. And my friend, straight out of high school, wrote the like biographies of these characters on the back of the placard. And I was like, so it was like an hour and a half just talking about that and how weird that was. Yeah. But I could not talk after that podcast. Like, my throat hurt. It was a mess. But
I want to go back to something that you said, because it catches me up all the time. You said lived in retroism.
Lived in retroism.
Yeah. I don't want to introduce this topic because here I go introducing it. But it's so loaded and we would have to talk about it for a long time. But just in a very brief way, like, I think that retroism and like nostalgia and all that kind of go together. But as much as it would be hard for people to believe, my photos are not meant to be nostalgic.
Okay.
I think that, I don't know, it's that thing that I said about the diners being like manufactured, and then the element of like human life. I feel like so many of my photographs are like without people, but they tell the story of like lives that have been lived. Mm-hmm. It's weird that I'm always gravitating towards these particular structures, I guess, but like, to me, they've just had multiple generations there, and you can just tell a lot about a town. It's more like the story of the town than like the town now and before, but it's not like a desire to go back to something previous. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
It's like,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm gonna read a little quote now.
Okay. Yeah. Go for it.
No, I've been reading a lot because I'm trying to figure out like how to introduce this book. And have you ever read Robert Adams by any chance?
That name sounds familiar, but
Yeah, he
Okay.
writes about photography all the time.
Okay.
And I just was like caught on this little thing that he said. He did a series of domestic interiors. So like, the interiors of homes in like the 1970s. And he said, these rooms seemed to me then to be mostly sad, although what strikes me now is the evidence in them, however fragile, of caring. And I just thought that was really lovely. So yeah, there's something about that. Like, I think I'm not from here, and like finding my place, finding my home, it like seems that there's some element of that for me in these places, I think.
You just used the term I was going to use, which is home. Like how many, because I think of like that place I was telling you about, that Rankin restaurant that looks, cinder block on the outside. It's like, how many people that's their home? And it's like, I worked with these two brothers that they went there and ate breakfast every morning. Morning.
So that's very special. That's very special. That's the kind of thing that I'm really interested in. It's not like return, like let's all get back to the way things were. It's like something about these places where people congregate,
right?
And they always have congregated, and they still congregate. That fascinates me, even though I don't generally photograph people.
Well, when I visited my friend in New Jersey, I said something like, "Okay, I keep hearing about these New Jersey diners." This is like 2011. And she was like, "Okay, well, you're going to be in this area. Go to this one." And I went to it, and it felt like something that was built in like 2005. And I was like, this doesn't feel right. It was massive. It was massive. And I was like, this is okay food. Just okay. And I'm always, whenever I travel, I was like, I don't want to waste a meal. I don't want to waste a moment when I'm traveling. Like I hate that. Like I don't have to prep, but I also, anytime I'm eating somewhere, and I was like, I'm disappointed because I could have gone somewhere else. But it was like, this is not what I was looking for. I was looking.
It was built new, right?
Yeah.
Like recently. Yeah. So because New Jersey has oh my God, if I say the wrong thing, I have a friend that knows everything about diners that's going to correct me, but there were multiple diner manufacturers in New Jersey, like way back in the day.
Okay.
So like, yes, one in Paterson, New Jersey, Silk City Diners. So you can find them there that are from the 1940s, 1950s.
That's what I was looking for.
Well, that's what you get in Pennsylvania. Like I said, these coal towns, they were built there. They became like the town hall of the place.
Yeah.
And they never changed, and they never moved, if they're still open. A lot of them are closing down now, or because of the previous, like, the recent situation. But I hope they come back. And I hope the structure at least, remains. And I hope the same people get to run it, and I hope they reopen. But worst case scenario, I'd love the place to stay and someone new to take it over if that has to happen. Not get like shipped somewhere or not.
Yeah. Or just torn down in a freaking crappy, I don't know what they're called, but those little strip malls that are all that tan color. I hate those. I hate because they're so unimaginative. Like they kill me. Yeah. Okay. Too quick.
Okay.
I'm trying to get you out of here. So number one, what you said that about the coal town in Pennsylvania, do you think when you're done with that, you're done? Or do you want to explore like West Virginia or Eastern Kentucky coal? I
am really interested in photographing this area.
Okay.
For a very long time. I've recently been thinking a lot about, just all the different awarenesses in the world that we've, realized. And I think it's really important to know a place that you're photographing really well, so that you can tell like the most true story. And it's difficult. Like, if you swing through a place and like kind of aestheticize it and think it looks cool, that's not like the true story. I've been here 3 years and I still don't feel like I know enough, but I want to spend like a lot of time so that I can give the best representation that I can. I'll always be in the photograph. I'll always be like, it's always subjective. The photojournalism is one thing, but like documentary photography can't be completely objective. You are taking the photograph, right? So I'm super interested in photographing the same area for a really long time and seeing how my view of it changes and how it changes, if that answers your question.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. It's yeah. It's I think it's the same thing of being from here. Anytime I see like these lists of like top 10 places, I was like, don't
Mhm.
ever do that. Come
Exactly.
talk to me. I'll tell you where
Yeah.
to go. Because the
Yeah.
places I'm gonna tell you about are not gonna be on any damn top 10 list. I was like, that's it's the realism to me of the person who's
Yeah.
from who knows. Like
Yeah.
this is where you
Yeah.
go. All
Yeah.
right, here is the final. So I am also a hardcore hoarder, apparently.
Uh-huh.
I have over 500 or
I know all your
600.
secrets now.
Yeah,
Sorry. Good.
500 or oh, this is hour 12. They already know. No. Uh I have over 500, 600 antique cameras
Oh
that
wow.
I've just collected over time
Mhm.
and gotten a lot of stuff given to me. My dad goes to a lot of yard sales and auctions, records. He just gave me a stack of records like that big yesterday. So is there anything you collect that is either related or unrelated to photography?
Oh
It
my
could be
God.
records, it could be whatever.
Disappointing. No.
Oh, no.
I have a fair amount of photo books. I'm not a gear person. I don't collect cameras. I have like a couple of cameras that I really like. Um, you're going to show me your cameras now.
No, I'm going to show you two things. Oh, I forgot I have a box full of cameras there that Dad just brought me.
Uh-huh.
He brought me this. It's always weird off
A
brands.
twin lens. What is it? What's the brand?
It's a Kodak Duoflex 4.
Cool. Does it work? Are you going to try it?
So my thing is I'm collecting all these, and whenever I retire, I'm
Uh-huh.
going to fix them, like
Nice.
any holes or
Uh-huh.
stuff. But this thing I was more fascinated with, which is a slide holder
Nice.
that I hadn't seen one of these, that it still has
Oh,
the,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
the paper. I
Cool.
was like, I haven't seen one of these.
Gotta fill that up with vintage slides.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were to come to my house, you'd be like, what are you talking about? Like, because there is vintage stuff everywhere. But I would say that my interests are so broad that I don't collect any one thing. Like there are vintage signs on the kitchen. We have vintage barware. We have, my husband is a record like DJ. So we have thousands of records,
Nice.
There's almost nothing new in our home. It's all from like thrift stores or yard sales or flea markets. So I collect everything, but no one thing.
There
I like
you go.
matchbooks, but no, I wouldn't say that I'm there's not much I wouldn't buy.
The matchbook thing is funny because like I said, there was a point where my basement is full right now of just stuff. Because my dad would go to yard sales and auctions, and my dad would show up and he'd go, your mama won't let me have this in the house. So here, you take it. You got room.
Yeah.
And there was one point where there were just randomly matchbooks thrown into any of the shit that he brought me. And at one point he was like, all right, boy, you're collecting matchbooks now. I've seen too damn many. And so I have this big giant jar of matchbooks in my living room. And I was like, I guess I'm collecting matchbooks now, Dad. Like, but
That's
those are
funny.
kind of cool to see what
really
people
cool.
advertised on the matchbooks.
I know. And like beautiful typography too, oftentimes.
Yeah.
But no, I thought that I should collect something like specific.
Yeah.
Funnily enough. And like when we moved here to Easton, Pennsylvania, this is where Crayola crayons were made or are still made and have always been made as far as I know. And I thought, well, maybe there's something like with the town that would be cool to collect, but then I looked and I can't find any really cool vintage
think
Crayola items. And then Dixie cups were made here. We have a huge abandoned Dixie cup factory. Yeah, and I looked at the advertising. It's really cool, but I've never come across. I'd have to like go on eBay and like look up Dixie cup in Easton, Pennsylvania, and I'd rather find things like at a flea market, frankly.
That's why I'm going to have to look it up. Let's see. Nope, headquarters in California.
Of Dixie cup?
No, Easton Sports. So Easton does baseball gear, like baseball bats. And I was like, that's got to be from Pennsylvania, but it says it's based in California.
Yeah. I like beer stuff too a little bit, which is kind of, we have it's just going to go over, but Bethlehem Steel, I don't know if you've ever heard of them. So that's like very close to me. And so there's some interesting things from there that I think would be cool to collect. And then also things that were around at that time, like there's different beers and alcohol stuff that were made, and you can imagine the steel workers imbibing them after work.
Yeah. You
I'll
can't
find
really,
my thing. Right now I'll collect everything and I'll get it down.
you can't see it here, but there is a World's Fair beer can right here. So the World's Fair was held here in 1982, and recently Dad has started finding old World's Fair like glasses and coffee mugs. He's like, "Do you want this?" I was like, "Yeah, I'll take it. I'll
We
take
have
it."
that, like, because it was in New York in
Oh yeah,
1964, I think. I
Yeah.
could be wrong, but or 68, 64. They're really cool. You do find those. Not here, but when I was in New York City, like out and about, like out of town. Yeah.
And we'll end on a Knoxville-like fun fact. So the main guy who started the design program at the college I went to is the guy who created the World's Fair logo for Knoxville, the little flame thing. And he was my mentor and advisor.
Cool.
It still is. He's still alive.
So you're collecting his work essentially when you
Yeah. Although the sad part is it was do you remember the banking and loan scandals in the 80s?
Not really.
Okay.
But
Well,
I've heard, yeah.
they were all over, and the people who brought the World's Fair here were part of that, and he never got paid for doing his logo. So I'm kind of collecting his work as almost like I think he filed a lawsuit and finally got some money, or didn't get money, but he's finally gotten credit for it. Like in the city, there's a historic World's Fair, the Sun Sphere, and they have his name in there. Like all of this was developed by David Gilbert, and he's awesome. But yeah. Anyway, that's how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so.
Thank you for being on.
Thank you for having me. It was fun.